for meeting me again.
No problem.
Did you watch the video?
I did, and I took notes as I went.
Cool.
Pretty much just tracked my thoughts on the lesson as it went through, so these are in sequential order to how the lesson was delivered. So it started off very positive, using everyone's name, helps them feel part of the lesson from the beginning.
Yeah.
You were doing some concept checking questions with vocabulary. I would like to see you to encourage the students to use full sentences in response, not just animal or people.
Yeah.
It's an animal, they are people, helps with some of the more difficult verbiage that they have to go through. But there are pretty much good concept checking questions throughout the whole lesson. Please work on classroom management expectations, especially for the beginning of the lesson before you had them working in small group work. I felt that the students were controlling the class, not you. A lot of shouting, a lot of you pausing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I felt the same with the management. The thing that's difficult is that it's not my students, where you have them set in this routine where they know the rules and they know how you do behavioral management, and you have this kind of setup. So it's a little bit difficult when you have students that aren't your normal students, because you don't know what cues they usually get, and then to try and set that up, because I was taking them out of a different class.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I have this time frame. Do I have enough time to establish all that, because I need to get this lesson done?
I think yes.
So
and actually, because they're not your students, even more appropriate that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You're using their names. I assume that there is an introduction. You say,
well, I just did the name game with them really quickly, and then I couldn't use it the rest of the time because in that moment I forgot the names. And it's like, I know it, but when you have to call on them really quickly, I wanted to say their name, but it would take me a minute to be like, William, what do you think? So it was just kind of easier to.
That's fine. Just
point.
As a baseline, I will be looking for that next time.
Yeah.
Okay, so just establish from the beginning what your expectations are for not shouting out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice encouragement. I liked the question, why are animals and people different? It was a very good transition to student very quickly.
Yeah.
One thing, I know you are a limited time frame, so you don't have to implement this, but one thing in the future, if you have longer time, I saw you monitoring the students' discussions.
Yeah.
I find it very useful for students, especially second language students, to see the form of the sentence on the board. So by writing down a few of the things that they're saying, especially things that are incorrect, you can put 3 examples of something you heard on the board, 2 incorrect, 1 correct, have them figure out which one's which, and then fix it.
I often do that with error correction, but originally I said but I totally agree.
Oh, you're so good. High fives. I like the recognition that they're doing well, but you're so good is praise. We try to focus on encouragement.
I was just really surprised, actually, because it was my first time working with K3 students, so I was genuinely shocked by oh my gosh, you guys know so much. But that's why at the end I tried to do high five for hard work.
Yeah.
And then I was saying keep working hard, but I was so amazed by them, honestly. I was really not expecting what I had planned to do, and then what they were able to do definitely took me by surprise. When they told me people used to be monkeys and a space rock came and killed the dinosaurs, I was like, oh my gosh, how do you,
the curriculum
they really are
here is very good.
Yeah, they really are. I was just so surprised throughout all of it.
Okay. So it was very good. The pronunciation practice for Mesopotamia I thought was great. I think it was very clear throughout the whole lesson that the rapport with the students was fantastic.
Yeah.
Dinosaur went bye-bye.
Yeah. I know.
Do I need to explain why that's not appropriate?
No.
Okay, good.
I was just working with the 2-year-olds though, so.
Yeah, I know. But anyway. I liked the story aspect while you were teaching. Questions like where is China built in to reinforce additional cross-subject knowledge.
Yeah.
One area I'll be looking for next time if this comes up again. The let's read together. You said that, and I was like, oh, great. But then you read it.
Oh, they were reading with me.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell as an observer, and neither can your program.
But you didn't hear them.
I could hear them kind of mimicking as they went along.
Oh, no, they were fully reading. but okay.
Okay.
But I also
wa-
didn't know they had that
Yeah,
level of
but
reading.
I, as an observer, didn't know
Yeah.
that. And so if my job is to critique your lesson, I'm
Yeah.
telling you that any other observer won't know that either.
Yeah.
So by letting them try to read it, you don't say anything. They read as they go. They sound out words. Now, again, you might not have enough time to go through every slide and let them read it.
Yeah. But we could do like an every other slide or...
Exactly. Or you can even
whatever.
help them with some of the words that are unfamiliar. I know that you spent some extra time for new words, advanced vocabulary,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. But they can definitely read sight words. They can definitely read CVC
Yeah.
and CVCC.
Which I had no idea. I was really
Right.
surprised by that as
Right.
well, you know?
We always want to continue
Yeah.
to develop their reading comprehension. And
Yeah.
just like everything else when it comes to teaching children,
Yeah.
they will often repeat right after whoever they think is correct, and
Hmm.
they'll definitely do that with a teacher. So they will, it sounds like they're reading, but
Yeah.
the only way I can be sure
Yeah.
is if they're reading.
Yeah.
Right. The clear instruction and modeling for the student activity was perfect. I liked the activity that they did to rearrange the story. If there's time, I would add an additional component to the end, which is have them explain the story again orally once they're done arranging it.
Well, my plan was to use the board, and that's how we would check the answers, is then I would open up the story again, and we would check, okay, is this the first picture you have? So I wasn't going to necessarily individual check. They were going to check themselves. And then I say, what happened on this picture? But the board, when you open it, you can't go back and you can't open it again. So the board, they were actually supposed to be using it for like the meditation-y thing that they were...
In the morning?
They were doing, but it wouldn't work with PowerPoint, so they had to switch boards, and that's the board that I was using. So I couldn't download and open it. I had to play it direct off of OneDrive.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't open. Finally, I got it to open. I ran through to the end, and then it wouldn't let me go back. And then I'm like, okay, I'll close it and I'll open it again. And then it wouldn't open. So I had to struggle to get it open again.
I'm glad that it didn't work, because I think people rely too heavily on technology, and that's why my suggestion could actually be more beneficial to them.
Yeah.
Because if you so group one, what happens first in the story, and they retell, and then group two. That way, if somebody's out of order, the rest of the groups can say that's not what happened. You know what I mean? But we're getting additional oral practice. We're getting additional recall practice. Where just looking at a smartboard and checking all at the same time, there's a lot of
well, it was just going to be like one at a time, and then
Yeah.
say like what happened in this. Like, don't read, just tell me from the picture. But the first thing is this picture correct? So that they can kind of like, it was kind of a way of doing no opt out for the ones that because there was one group that was struggling to do it, and it was for them that way. Okay, I couldn't really remember, but now I can see and do it myself instead of having the other kids come help them. Because there wasn't quite enough time for me to sit there and then, okay, let me tell you the story and you find the picture to match. You know what I mean? So it was going to be that way.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, we've already spent so much time.
Sure.
Let me let the kids help them. And then like, okay, great job. Like, it's been half an hour, which I knew it was going to be like half an hour. But technically this lesson was made to be 45 minutes that I was trying to fit into half an hour.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, then good. Then the only lesson I guess there can be a takeaway is don't rely on technology. Always.
Yeah.
have a
Well,
plan
no,
B.
I think the biggest thing I learned, and this is something that I learned even in real time, but especially rewatching the video, is how good these kids are to know how to plan. Because it's like I kind of planned for here just because of my exposure, with them, and then like
You had to adjust up.
they were up here, and then I did it like somewhere kind of here.
That's why our school is so expensive.
I know, but I need to do this kind of like higher planning for them, and I was just so surprised myself. And when you're teaching and you're like recording your teaching, you're kind of like you know what I mean, like.
Not really, but it's fine.
It's one of these
I haven't
things,
done.
like,
I
when
haven't been in that seat in many
like
years.
when I know I'm being like tested, it's like I'm not necessarily in the same like mind frame.